Hello, I'm Arthur. Welcome to my lab. Today let's talk about the battery banks. I had several laptop battery packs which were dying, they weren't charging right. And so I took them apart and I took out of them these 18650 cells. Each pack had several of these. So I had some extra cells. Some of them were good, some of them were dead. So I was looking for something to do with these cells, and I came across all these battery packs on eBay, so I bought some to test them out. The first one that I bought was this one. Nice little pack, rectangular shape or cube, whatever. I bought it in bright yellows to make it easy to find it in a bag if I'm somewhere in a dark area, out and about. So don't laugh at the yellow color or the gold color. That was on purpose. So just simple plastic enclosure, simple circuit. I'm trying to fish this one out here. Comes out usually easy unless you are actually trying to fish it out. But I have another one that the circuit is already out. So there you go. USB connector for the output, USB connector for the charging. One chip, one coil, some passives, capacitors, resistors. That's all. That's all there is to it. Just like this other one as well. So I put the battery in this one. I started charging it in. It seemed to be doing okay. It was blinking some lights. Then eventually it looked like the battery was fully charged. So I went to try to use it. I plugged it into my cell phone to charge it, and that's when it turned out that it's not such a good deal. It actually started getting really hot. The metal parts here were getting really hot, even the USB connector. So obviously it was running into an overcurrent situation with the phone plugged in. It was probably supplying more current to the phone than it could actually handle. And the thermal cutoff started kicking in shortly after plugging in the phone. And so this thing wasn't really able to charge my phone because it kept cutting off because of overheating. So, no, piece of junk. Don't buy this stuff. Looks like this. There's plenty of it on eBay. I think it's one of the cheapest one. But stay away. It just won't work. Or at least maybe... I just ran into a bad series of them. Maybe your luck will be better, but I would stay away. So here's another one that I bought. A little different design. I'm pretty sure the circuitry is about the same. It looks very similar. The placement of the components is a little bit different, but other than that, it's almost identical. So you pop the battery in like this. You slide this into the shell, put the back on it, screw that on, and you're good to go. So same deal, I charged it, I plugged in my phone, and this one behaved just fine. It was charging my phone, it's doing fine, it's not overheating. So for a limited capacity, for low capacity needs, when you just need a little boost, you're on the go and you need to have some extra power with you just in case, but you don't plan on really needing a lot of power to charge some bigger device, this will get the job done and it won't take up much space in your bag. So I think it's a good investment if you have some spare batteries. Now this one can actually hold 4 cells. So the same size of cells, 18650s, 4 of them sit next to each other, like so, 2, 3, 4. And so it has a higher capacity. The nice thing about this enclosure is that it has dual USB output. Now I haven't tested this yet, but I'm hoping that you will be able to use both of the USB outputs simultaneously. Otherwise it just wouldn't make sense to put multiple outputs on this thing. So yeah, looks like you can charge 2 devices at a time. Also it has a built-in flashlight. You turn it on like that, so you can use it as a little flashlight in a pinch, and charge your two devices. Actually, there's a little hack that I did with this one because I did not have any more of the 18650 cells left, but I did buy 18500 cells for something else that I was going to use them for, but I ended up not using them. So 18500 cells are a little bit shorter, so they wouldn't really work in this enclosure unless I changed how it's laid out inside as far as the contact for the cells. So that's what I did, and I recorded a video of that, and I will splice that into this video so that you can see what I did. Just a very simple hack where I 3D printed a little plastic block and put it in to fill the space. Here's a little hack I just did. I bought on eBay this enclosure for 18650 cells. That's your battery bank. Has two USB outputs, one USB input for charging, holds 4 of these 18650 cells, but I don't have any spare 18650 cells at the moment. However, I do have these 18500 cells. I just bought them for something else, ended up not using them for what I bought them for, so I have 4 of these available. But these guys are shorter than the 18650. So I just 3D printed a little spacer that goes right here. And then I moved this metal bracket that would connect to the positive end of 18650. I just unsoldered it from this position where it was soldered, reshaped the metal part of it that goes to the connection, so that it's shorter, so it aligns with this junction point. The little plastic part that I just 3D printed goes right behind it to fill the gap, and ta-da! The 18500 cell fits like a charm, and I can stick 4 of them in here, and I have nice little battery bank from just extra stuff that I have floating around. Here it is, power's on, looks beautiful. I'm gonna put the lid on it, and I'll have a little spare source of power for where I'm out and about and need to charge up to 2 USB devices. That's the nice thing about this enclosure, that it can actually connect, and hopefully it can charge 2 devices at a time. Now the last battery bank that I'd like to talk about is this one. This one holds 5 cells, 5 of the 18650 bigger cells. So this has the biggest capacity of all of these. It actually has 3 USB ports, so even better than the previous one. It also has LED light, and it also has a nice display. So I like this about this battery pack, that it actually shows you the capacity. And the reason why it's showing 0.5% is because I just used it to charge my iPad. My iPad was at about 50% charge, and I decided to use this battery pack to test how well it will charge my iPad. And the battery pack was at 100% fully charged when I plugged it in, and it went down to 5%, and it was able to fully charge my iPad. And actually, another thing that I got recently is this little USB power tester. You can use this to test the charging and discharging of devices. You plug in your power source here, your receiver here, and you can monitor how the charging process goes. And I used this, I plugged this in while charging my iPad. And so I can tell now that, I'm not sure about the time. I don't think it took 6 hours. Maybe the time measurement is off on this thing. But the current power voltage output from the battery pack is about 5.2 volts. I kind of don't like how this flickers. I think the sampling rate, the device just displays raw samples and doesn't average them over time. But other than that, it gets the job done. But the nice thing is that it shows me how much power was put into the device being charged. So I know that I put about 5.5 amp hours into my iPad, and this almost fully drained this battery pack, which has 5 cells. So this is a pretty good estimate that each of my cells has about 1.2 amp hour of capacity, which is what I would expect from old and used cells. And also it was able to charge my device. So now I'll plug in this meter again into the charging circuit to see how much power will go into this battery pack, and it should be about the same amount, about 5.5 amp hours. And also it was showing me, while charging, it was showing me the current that was being drawn from the battery pack, and to my surprise it was under 1 amp. I was expecting more current to be drawn, but it was only 1 amp. Oh, and another thing is that this device has 2 1 amp outputs and one output that should be capable of delivering 2 amps. So that's another reason why I was expecting to see 2 amp reading while charging iPad. But for some reason that didn't happen. I'll have to research this a little bit more. Also, this battery pack also has one 1 amp output and one 2 amp output. So it can also be used to charge devices requiring higher amp rating for the charger. And this is how this 5 battery cell unit looks like inside. So 3 battery cells go here, 2 more here, and here's a little PCB that with the display. There's a button. You get with the kit this little window that you have to peel off the backing and stick it on here. The guys who sold it to me didn't bother doing that. And actually in this first pack that I received, even this part was not placed in place, and it was not glued in, so I had to do this myself as well. But other than that, so far I really like this pack. It seems to be working just fine. It's not overheating. Only the first one that I showed you, the yellow one, was overheating. None of the other ones were overheating, so that's a good sign. I think that it will come in very handy once I start riding my bike, and will need a battery pack to recharge my devices if needed. So that's all for today. See you next time.